Vice President Mike Pence destroys Senator Kamala Harris in their sole debate, and we examine every detail of her false claims, which were never challenged by moderator Susan Page. This is the Dr. Jaymz Show. The Pence and Harris debate may in fact be the last debate before the election, as the next debate will be virtual, and President Trump has said he will not take part in any virtual debate. So what can we take from the debate between Pence and Harris? Well, we learned that a fly landing on the vice president's head got liberals easily distracted, much like a teenager with ADHD. In fact, if your support for Harris was about the fly on Pence's head, then you just showed everyone that your team lost.
LeBron James shared this photo of the Republican vice president writing, "Y'all know what Fly's favorite destination is, right?" Yup, you guessed it, with a bunch of emojis telling us exactly what location he was talking about.
This is what happens when you leave high school early to join the NBA. And in fact, people paying more attention to the fly than to the blatant lies coming from Harris's mouth show that their IQ is no better than LeBron James. And that's not very high. So what did Harris lie about? Oh, let's see. Just about every claim she made. In fact, each time she was confronted about her claims by VP Mike Pence, she looked very uncomfortable. At times, she could do little more than smile awkwardly, blink, smirk, laugh, smugly shake her head, all the expressions of someone repressing the truth.
I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives. If the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you. It's really remarkable to think. I mean, right after a time when we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs tonight. What did I say? Those guards.
And I particularly love the part when she told the vice president, "I am speaking. I am speaking."
No, but Susan, this is important. I want to add, but Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Having to tell someone you're speaking when they interrupt you is not a sign of strength, but of weakness. A person with authority doesn't have to remind someone they are speaking. They simply keep going and talk a little louder. Now, because I'm a generous guy, I'm going to help Harris out a little. Here's a behavioral expert giving some really good advice she should take note of.
Focus in on you, because then that makes you the focus of the conversation.
Okay.
So you keep going, but when you get really excited, sometimes we all talk really quickly and our voice goes up, but
Don't let that happen.
The problem with Kamala Harris is that she doesn't come across authentic, because she isn't. She's not interested in telling the truth, but in being taken seriously, and she fails on both counts. Media coverage on her by the liberal left hasn't focused on the details of her bizarre truth claims, but on how to say her name.
Will you pronounce your name for me, please?
It's Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, just think of like a comma and add a la.
Okay.
Well, did Joe Biden get the memo? Because he regularly mispronounces her name.
That's what I asked Kamala. That's what I asked Kamala. I asked Kamala. I asked Kamala. Kamala.
So since when did criticism become an offense? It seems like anyone who says anything against Harris is deemed a racist or a sexist. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Both of these types, both the organic and the sophisticated attacks that are designed to play on society's implicit bias in order to sow discord and make it harder for women and people of color to get elected.
So criticisms of Kamala Harris play into the implicit biases society has against women of color? I mean, this is none other than a threat. They're telling us, leave Harris alone or we're coming after you. Harris has plenty of experience at hiding behind her own identity. Last year, when she embarrassingly lost in her own home state during the Democratic primary, Harris had an explanation. Americans are bigots.
And what I believe to be the elephant in the room about my campaign.
What is that?
Electability.
What do you mean?
Electability. Essentially, is America ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president of the United States?
There seems to be a lot of racist Democrat voters out there. Maybe Harris forgot that a lot of these secret racist Democrats voted for Barack Obama twice. Maybe it's her Indian heritage they don't like. Or maybe the real reason voters don't like Harris is because she's a liar. Voters know this, which is perhaps why someone in her campaign has told her to consistently use the phrase, "Let's speak truth," in the hope that they think she is.
So I believe this is a moment in time where we must speak truth.
Now, I believe shine a light means we must speak truth.
It's about truth, right? And it's about knowing that truth must be spoken even when it makes people uncomfortable.
In that case, what I'm about to share is going to make Kamala Harris really uncomfortable. So let's speak some truth and shed some light on no less than 5 claims she made in her debate with VP Mike Pence that simply weren't true. The first is Joe Biden will not raise taxes.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000.
Guess what? If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut. I'd make the changes on the corporate taxes on day one. And the reason I'd make the change in the corporate taxes, it can raise $1.3 trillion if they just start paying at 28% instead of 21%.
So in other words, Biden wants the USA to have higher corporate taxes than communist China, which is currently 25%. But that's not all. Biden also wants to eliminate Trump's tax cuts.
And folks, on day one, I will move to eliminate Trump's tax cuts.
But what's the consequence of that? Eliminating Trump's tax cuts are not only going to affect the wealthy, but all those who make less than $104,000 per year. Low to middle income earners will pay more income tax as standard deductions are decreased from $12,600 to $6,300. Married couples filing joint tax returns will pay more tax as their standard deduction will be almost halved. Corporation tax for business owners will go back up to 35%. Hardworking Americans will pay more death tax on assets they've inherited from previous generations. Child tax credits will be halved for millions of families with children. Relief for expensive medical bills will be reduced, and more. The second lie is that Trump will remove pre-existing conditions on health care.
If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you.
Okay, I'm confused. Didn't Trump sign an executive order protecting pre-existing conditions for Americans in September of this year? Or was that my imagination? And the third lie is Biden will not ban fracking.
That Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact.
Oh, really? Now that sounds convincing, but wait.
No new fracking. And we are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipe?
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out.
You know, I just love that compilation. And yes, Kamala, the truth is very uncomfortable, isn't it? And this leads me on to the fourth lie, which is President Trump lost the trade war with China.
The president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it.
Not according to legendary economist and investor Dr. Gary Shilling.
It's the buyer that has the upper hand, not the seller. The buyer has the ultimate power. And who's the buyer? U.S. is the buyer. China's the seller.
But don't take his word for it. According to Bloomberg, Trump is the winner of round one with China. China's been manipulating its currency for years, taking advantage of soft U.S. import tariffs and undercutting American jobs because of the ease in which U.S. businesses have been offshoring their manufacturing to China. But in the New Deal, Trump has applied tariffs on hundreds of billions worth on Chinese goods and banned Chinese technology firms like Huawei, which has been accused of spying on U.S. citizens for the Chinese government. Now imagine letting the KGB run the American phone network in, say, 1980. Now you see my point. And this brings me on to the last lie, lie number 5. Her work as AG in California is a model for the USA.
First of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California, the work that I did is a model of what our nation needs to do.
However, her long record as law and order prosecutor paints a different picture.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California.
There was a big crime lab scandal whereby there was a lab technician who was using the drugs rather than testing them. And as a result, many, many convictions became tainted. And it turned out that her office had known for months, top attorneys had, and had not disclosed that information to the defense. And when a judge found out, she became quite incensed and wrote an opinion castigating Harris for allowing this to happen. Harris's reaction to that was to try to get the judge disqualified.
One of the criticisms that has been leveled against her was that she never took a position on a bill to require an independent investigation when there's a fatal shooting by police officers. This is the issue when you talk about Ferguson, when you talk about Eric Garner, when you talk about any number of black men usually who are unarmed, who are shot by police officers.
So yes, Kamala Harris is a defender of dirty prosecutions, a political opportunist, and an old-school drug warrior that incarcerated more blacks in California than at any other time. According to the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice, during her time as the DA for San Francisco, felony drug arrests for African Americans were 19 times higher than any other races. Here's the thing. Instead of apologizing for her record, she tries to convince voters she's always been a progressive prosecutor.
She's decided to try and convince voters that she has always been a progressive prosecutor.
How do you reconcile your contradictory past with what you claim to support today?
I've been consistent my whole career.
Yeah, she's been consistent, all right. Consistent at telling lies. And here's the outcome of the story. If you care about law and order, if you care about American jobs, if you care about the economy and don't want to pay more taxes because of a Green New Deal that will cripple this country, then vote like your country depends on it on November the 3rd, because it does. Vote to keep out one of the most dishonest, radical, and destructive presidential tickets in U.S. history. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to tune in to the next Dr. Jaymz show exclusively on WhatTV, which is going to be vital as we are days away from the next presidential election.